Hello and welcome to the Business Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Holly Worton. I've been an entrepreneur since 1999, and I know firsthand how difficult it can be to build a business without the right mindset. This is a podcast for those of us who struggle with showing up in our business with confidence and authenticity, who resist taking big action because of fears and doubts, who know deep down that it's possible to create something bigger, and yet you're not. This podcast combines powerful strategies on how to upgrade your business mindset, along with practical business tips to grow your business more easily in a way that feels aligned. This podcast features solo shows with me and also interviews with inspiring women entrepreneurs from around the world, including my monthly co-hosted episodes with Joe Casey. My goal is to help you grow your business more quickly and easily by transforming your mindset. For me, mindset work is a lifelong practice, and I want to help you make a habit out of mindset work. Thank you so much for joining us today. Now, let's get into this week's episode. Hello and welcome to the Business Mindset Podcast, episode 249. This is your host, Holly Worton, and I'm back with another solo episode. Today is the Beltane edition of the podcast. Beltane is the third of the pagan spring celebrations after Imbolc and the spring equinox, which we talked about a few episodes ago. Beltane marks the beginning of summer. Spring is in full bloom, and here in the UK, we can finally see that. We've had sunshine for the last 3 days. It's been amazing. So much so that I realized I'd forgotten how warm and sunny it can be here. Seasons are changing. Things are starting to get ready for the warmth and the fertility of summer. Beltane is traditionally celebrated on the 1st of May. And it's a time of fertility, blossoming, creativity, union. And we're going to talk about how these elements play a role in our business at this time of year and always. But I thought now was a good time to take advantage of the fact that we've got this date in the calendar. By the time this goes live, it will have happened a week ago. Take a look at how we can make our businesses more fertile and blossoming. But before we get into today's episode, I wanted to mention a podcast that I was recently a guest on. And that is the Intuitive Leadership Mastery podcast with Michaela Light. And if you go to hollyworton.com/ILM, you can go straight to the show notes with the audio and the video of this interview. This is a really great, deep conversation about bold business beliefs, business blocks. We talk about where business beliefs come from, why they're so important, why they're vital for your success. How can someone find out exactly what their belief system is? How do you know if your business beliefs are supporting you or hurting you? Why your business blocks might be interfering with your success, and what to do about them. Like I said, it's about 51 minutes long. I think it's a great in-depth conversation about business beliefs, business blocks. Michaela's a great interviewer, and I think you'll really, really enjoy this episode. So if you go to hollyworton.com/ILM, that will redirect you to Michaela's website, and you can check out the interview there. I think you'll really enjoy it. So as I was preparing for today's episode, I found this really interesting because if you've been following me for any length of time, you may remember when my business was called Ready to Bloom. And it's probably out there online somewhere still. It was a free opt-in gift. I think it was called Make Your Business Bloom or How to Make Your Business Bloom or something like that. So I was really reminded of that as I was making the notes for today's episode, which is all about, as I said earlier, fertility, blossoming, creativity, and union in nature, but specifically on the show in your business. So let's start with taking stock of where we are. We've just finished the first quarter of the business year. If you're in the US, you've probably just gotten ready to pay your taxes or to file your tax return. If you're in the UK, the tax year ended at the beginning of April. And it's time to take stock of where we are in business. And this is something I talk about a lot in my blog posts from ever since, I think, 2011. Where are you in your business? That is one of the 3 foundational questions that I ask over and over. Who am I? Where am I? And where am I going? So where am I? Where are we? Is the second question. Where are you? Like, what's been going on in your business for the last 3 months? What have you been up to? Are things going the way you planned? Did you have a plan? I hope you had a plan. Did you have goals? Did you meet your goals? Did you fall short on your goals? and why? If things went differently to your plan, to how you had planned them, what happened? What went wrong? What went off course? And maybe things went off course in a good way. So what decisions did you make that led you on a different path? First quarter has been a huge time of getting clarity for me. For the past several months, I know I've been hinting and talking about how things are changing up in my business. And I finally did mention in a previous episode that I'm going to be focusing more on my writing this year and for the unforeseeable future. Writing is my focus. So the last few months have been kind of a process of getting clarity for me. And that's been really frustrating because I don't like that messy middle. I don't like that in-between time. I find it really confusing, even though I know that it's something that we have to go through. And I've also been in the process of shifting from the entrepreneurial mindset to the author mindset. And there's a lot of overlaps there because I'm a self-published writer, which is by choice. That's the way I want it. There is a business element to being an author, especially if you're a self-published author. So it's not a massive shift. But yet it is. And I was just talking to a business friend the other day and saying that I want to start introducing myself as an author, as a writer, rather than as a business mindset coach, which is what I've been doing for years. And I was recently on a Lowland Leader training course last weekend, which is a course that teaches you how to guide groups, not just the leadership of the group, but also navigation of the group, kind of lowland conditions, which is low hills and valleys and that kind of thing. And it was one of the few times that I was with a group that was totally non-business related. Most of the people there were teachers. They were getting the certification so they could do D of E or Duke of Edinburgh award training. And it was such a different group. It was so refreshing. And I could hear myself, people were asking me what I did, and I could hear myself, as usual, introducing myself as a business mindset coach. And then, of course, explaining what that meant, because they weren't in the online business world that we're all in. And as I could hear myself saying that out of habit, I realized that I'm still struggling to shift into the mindset of writing first, author first. So that's where I've been for the last quarter. And as I said, it's frustrating because it's a time of not taking big action, but getting clarity. And that can feel so passive sometimes, even though I realize how important it is to have these times in our business. I'm feeling good that I'm finally coming out of the fog and getting clarity and stepping into this new identity for myself and a new identity for my business. And that's where I am. So taking stock of where I am, here we are. What about you? So as I said, what have the last few months of your business been like? Did you meet your goals? Did you change your path? Did you not achieve your goals? Did you do things differently? Is there anything that you need to do differently? Is there anything that you want to do differently? Where do you want to be headed in the next quarter of the year? What are your goals for the next quarter of the year? What are your plans for the next quarter of the year? What are your plans for the rest of the year? What is your focus? What do you want to achieve? So this is the third question. Where are you going? So my suggestion to you, as we focus on this time of fertility and blossoming and creativity and union and making our businesses bloom, is, first of all, do something creative in your business. Could be something old, something new. Could be something like writing a blog post that you've been meaning to write, but you keep putting it off because it's not important. It could be writing a book, starting a book. It could be doing a video. It could be any kind of creativity. Do something that feels fun, something that feels joyful, something that feels nourishing, and make that a priority. Try to do something different. Try to step out of your comfort zone or ease into a new level of comfort. Try something new. And I would also like to encourage you to try to do something creative outside of your business. Because so often when we do creative things that aren't necessarily business related, they can stimulate creativity within our business. So I don't know. I say I paint. I used to paint. I don't make time for it. I haven't painted in a long time, months. So you could paint something. You could draw something. You could get one of those adult coloring books and you could color a page in the book. I encourage you to try something new and creative that's not business related. And that could be writing a poem. It could be writing a short story. It could be playing music. I am totally a non-musical person, but I'm sure many of you listening to this are musical. Write a song, play an instrument, dance, do something creative that's not business related and see how that affects your business. Don't do it with the intention that I'm going to play this song on the piano and therefore my business is going to be amazing. Just do it for the joy of it. Do it for the fun of it. And then pay attention to what the results are. Because if you find that letting yourself play, whether it's through paint, through art, through writing, through music, if you find that letting yourself play brings added joy to your business, then that's something you need to pay attention to and do more often. So I really suggest that you do something creative, both creative within your business and creative outside of your business, something non-business related. So that's the creative side of Beltane. Another thing you can do in terms of union is look at joining a new community or creating a new community. Facebook groups have been around forever. There's some great groups on there. I've been spending less time on Facebook lately. I'm just sick of it, which you've probably noticed because I keep talking about that over and over. One thing that has been growing in the last year or so, or several months, is Mighty Networks, which was created by Tara Gentili, who was a guest on this podcast. And she's created a kind of platform where you can create your own social network. So it's kind of like how Ning was many years back. So you pay a fee, you set up your network, and it's like a private Facebook group, but outside a Facebook group. And that's got its pros and cons. Pros because you're not on Facebook and you don't have to abide by their rules, and you can it's kind of more your own closed platform. But cons because most people still hang out on Facebook and sometimes they might forget to visit your group. I joined a women's walking group on Mighty Networks called Glamorax, which I'll link to in the show notes. I keep forgetting to visit it. So maybe once a week I'll go, oh, that group. And then I go in and visit it. And just last night, I got a link to an invite to join Elsie Escobar's E-League network on Mighty Networks, and I joined that. And so I'm looking forward to having that kind of podcasting community outside of Facebook. You can go on Mighty Networks and search for communities that are of interest to you. That's how I found the Glamorax Walking Network. I recommend that you head over there and check it out. You might find a community that's related to your business or related to a hobby or something like that will allow you to join a community, or you could use it to create your own community and unite with people there. I think it's really, really important to have a network of people that can support us in both our hobbies and personal life, but also with business, because business can feel so alone sometimes. So check out Mighty Network, see if you find anything. Or if you're a hardcore Facebook fan, check out Facebook groups. Maybe there's a group out there that you weren't aware of. Ask people for recommendations. You can join my Facebook group. If you head to hollyworton.com/group, you can join my group. Or elsewhere. Life is not just online. So join a meetup group. Start your own meetup group. Meetup is great. That's meetup.com, and I'll link to that in the show notes, is great for offline meetups, offline groups. Find a new community where you can meet new people. And I feel like now that we're at this time of fertility and blossoming, it's time to reach out and connect with new people, because it can be so easy to just move around within the networks that we already have and just engage with the people we already know, which is fine. But if you want to expand your audience, if you want to expand your potential client base, you need to get out there and meet new people. And you're not going to get that by staying in the same places. So I encourage you, in this time of blossoming, get out there, join a new community, create a new community, and see what happens. Speaking of union, and speaking of doing things with other people and blossoming our networks, try some kind of joint venture. And that could be an interview exchange. So you could interview someone on video for your YouTube channel and then be interviewed by them for theirs. Or if you have a podcast, you can interview someone for your podcast, be interviewed by them for theirs. You could do a guest blog post swap with someone. People still do that. You could do a joint venture where someone promotes your online program or something that you offer. The other way around, you can do the same for someone else. You could do a joint webinar. Those are always fun. Find someone who teaches something that would be useful to your community. Do a webinar with them. Something where you both share your expertise in a way that's complementary, and then promote it between both of your communities. You can create a joint program or mentoring program or mastermind or package. Find someone who offers a service that's complementary to yours and put something together, and then promote that amongst your communities. See what you can do, what fun new things you can do with people to help your business blossom, to help your network blossom, to be seen by new people in a wider arena, and see what happens. I think doing these kinds of joint ventures is really fun. It's exciting. It takes the pressure off of you to promote something, whether that's a piece of content or a webinar or a program package, whatever. And it's just fun to collaborate with other people. So if you've never done that, give it a try. And if you have done it, do it again and see how it works for you. You may enjoy it. It may be something that you want to do more of with more people. Last year, I was doing a lot of joint webinars with people. I would invite someone on, we'd talk about their area of expertise, and then I would talk about the mindset stuff that could get in the way when trying to do that. It was fun. I really, really enjoyed it. And those videos are up on my YouTube channel. You can find those, I think it's in the video interviews playlist, but I'll link to that in the show notes. So everything I've been talking about so far has been around fertility and blossoming and creativity and union, and continuing on that theme of blossoming. What are flowers? They're a way for a plant to reproduce. They are not just for our visual pleasure. They are to attract pollinators so that plants can reproduce. So to me, blossoms are all about getting visible, about being seen. Not just flowers, but metaphorically in the term of business, in the sense of business. So how can you attract pollinators to your business? How can you attract potential clients? How can you attract people who are interested in what you have to say? And this all comes back to visibility, which is something that people are talking about a lot because it's so important. If you are not seen, if people do not see you online, offline, wherever, people don't know that you exist. How are you going to get clients? So visibility is really, really important, but visibility in a meaningful way. I think because visibility has become such a buzzword, a lot of people are getting visible, kind of, in noisy ways. The daily Facebook Lives where you just do a video about something. And it's not necessarily deep, it's not necessarily meaningful, it's not necessarily useful. It's just someone blabbing online about something. So when you think about getting visible, think about how you can do it in a meaningful way, in a way that's useful to potential clients, that's useful to your community. It's not just being visible for visibility's sake. However, if you find it useful to do daily Facebook Lives every day for a week or a fortnight or a month or whatever to get over your fear, by all means do it. But try to make sure that your content, whatever it is, has some kind of meaning or utility to it, so that you're known for your good quality content, not for just putting shit out there. So in this time of blossoming, think about how you can get visible in a meaningful way and get yourself seen. Now, a lot of the things that I talked about in the last point, in terms of joint ventures, interview swaps, guest blog post swaps, joint programs, packages, content, whatever, that's a great way of getting visible. Do a Google search, see how you can get visible in more creative ways. See what feels joyful, see what feels fun, see what feels easy, but also be willing to ease yourself out of your comfort zone and do something that maybe feels a little more challenging. And when you're looking at getting visible, it's not just getting visible to the people in your network. It's also about getting visible in new networks, in new communities. That's why the previous point that I mentioned about joining or creating a new community is really useful, because it gets you seen by other people, by new people. So all of the stuff that I'm talking about today is related. Fertility, blossoming, creativity, union, it's all kind of interconnected. So what can you do to be seen, to be visible in new circles by new people in meaningful and useful ways? Finally, in terms of fertility and revenue, business revenue, profit, let's talk for a minute about new ways of generating revenue, or simply generating revenue, bringing money into your business. What are 3 things you could do to generate revenue? And that could be creating a new product, a new service, or getting clients in the same way you always have, one-to-one clients, group clients, mastermind clients, mentoring clients, coaching clients, healing clients, whatever. What are 3 things you could do to bring money into your business this week? That could be cold calling, if that's something you do. It could be reaching out to people that you've worked with in the past and offering them something new, or offering them a discount, or just simply reminding them that you exist and you would love to work with them again if they have anything they need working on. I think a lot of times we focus so much on marketing and not enough about sales, because sales can feel like a dirty word to people, which it's not, depending on how you do it. And this could be a very important mindset piece for you. So if you're the kind of person that doesn't have very many clients because you're terrified of sales, or you don't like sales, or you feel like you shouldn't be doing sales, you feel like people should just be flowing to you naturally and easily and effortlessly, that would be fabulous, but it doesn't always happen that way. A lot of times in the beginning, most of the times in the beginning, you've got to do work. You've got to actually work to get people in there, and that involves reaching out to people and having sales conversations. So if you're the kind of person that hates sales or hates marketing or is just put off by any of the things that I mentioned in this episode, do the mindset work you need to do to make this stuff happen. So to recap, it's a time for taking stock of where we are and where we want to be headed. Do something creative in your business. Do something creative in your personal life. Join or create a new community. Do some kind of joint venture thing or swap thing in terms of like content. Get visible, get seen in meaningful ways, and focus on generating revenue. If anything that I've spoken about in today's episode feels uncomfortable or feels icky or feels like, but I don't want to do it, then stop and think about why. Like, what fears are there? What are you afraid of? What's the worst that could happen if you tried one of these things? What's the worst that could happen if you stepped outside of your comfort zone? What's the worst that could happen if you proposed a joint venture to someone or a kind of interview swap? I mean, the worst that could happen is that someone says no, and that's really not the end of the world, as long as you don't take it personally, because it's usually not a personal thing. Sometimes you're a good fit, sometimes you're not. But if you don't reach out to people, you're never going to know. But reaching out to people can be really, really hard. It can be really challenging. So if that's an issue for you, work on that. Identify what your blocks are. Identify what your fears are. Identify what your limiting beliefs are. And do the mindset work so that you can take action more easily. And we hear so much about people, how I feel about the word hustle. You've got to hustle. You've got to just do the work. You've got to feel the fear and do it anyway. You know how I feel about that. I think that's fantastic for some people, and I think it's totally useless to other people. Doesn't work for a lot of people, and I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast, it probably doesn't work for you. So if you're the kind of person that can't just push through the fear and do the thing, then focus on the mindset stuff, because sometimes we need to do the inner work to make the outer work easier. However, don't get caught in the trap of thinking, oh, well, I've done the inner work, therefore I'm set. So the clients are just going to flow to me easily and effortlessly. No. You've got to do the outer work as well. You've got to take practical action. You've got to take inspired action, whatever you call it. The inner work and the outer work always go hand in hand if you want to see results. So that is all for today. I'm going to wrap up this episode. Hope you found this interesting and useful, and I would love to hear what you thought of it. So drop me a line and let me know what you thought of this week's episode. Email me at holly@hollyworton.com, or you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram and get in touch. Would also love for you to join me in the Facebook group, which I mentioned earlier in the episode. If you head over to hollyworton.com/group, you will be redirected to the Facebook group. And we can have a chat about this episode and other mindset stuff in there. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a quick review on Apple Podcasts or on iTunes. It would mean the world to me. Next week's episode is a co-hosted episode with the fabulous Joe Casey. Actually, we just recorded that today. We're going to talk about who heals the healers and who coaches the coaches. I'm so excited that I'm doing this episode today because we just did that one this morning, and it's going to be really interesting and useful, I think. We really enjoyed doing it. So we talked about where do we go to get help when we need it. Oftentimes as coaches and healers, we're not used to being vulnerable. And oftentimes we feel like we have to show everyone that we've got our shit together. It can be really hard to reach out and ask for help when we're used to helping other people. People always say that it's important to be vulnerable, but to share the shit when we're on the other side of it and we can talk about the learning aspect or the learning experience that we've just had. But where do we go when we're in the middle of the shit? So in this episode, we're going to talk about why coaches and healers need support, even though we have our own tools to help ourselves. We talk about what happens when we don't get the support we need. We talk about how to reach out and ask for help before we reach burnout or overwhelm, how to recognize when you need help, how to find places where it's more give and take, where we can receive and we can serve and we don't have to keep up appearances. We can just put it all out there and be supported. We also talk about why we need spaces like this, where we can show up as us with all of our bits, the good and bad, and where we can find those communities. So, hope you find that episode interesting and useful. Again, that's going to be out a week from now on the 14th of May. And that's it for now. I hope you have a fantastic week. I hope you enjoy the springtime. I hope the weather is fantastic where you are. Try to get outdoors if you can. Just enjoy the sunshine if you have it. And enjoy the blooms. I think also if we get out in nature, and I think I spend a lot of time outdoors, but if you don't, I encourage you to do so, whether it's to a park or to the woods or wherever, to the beach, and just experience this passing of the seasons and the warming and see how that inspires your business. So thank you so much for listening. Hope to see you next week. And remember to visit hollyworton.com/249 for the show notes on this episode. Thank you so much for listening to the Business Mindset Podcast. You can find more information about today's episode, including links for the topics that were discussed, at hollyworton.com. If you'd like to connect with other listeners and learn more about business mindset, join my private community for entrepreneurs at hollyworton.com/group. That will redirect you to the Facebook group. And if you enjoyed this episode, please remember to head over to iTunes and leave a quick review of this podcast. It just takes a minute. Thank you so much.